Uh-oh, I think I started my stream too early. That's my bad. Hold on. No, I'm going to have to keep going. Okay, I started my stream early because I'm a dunce. Well, nobody's here yet. And yeah, I'm like 3 minutes early. Let me go ahead and mess around with this because I need to remember how to get the invite. There we go. You just click and copy. Good. I'm going to do that. Hey, a good Larry. I clicked live and didn't realize like an idiot that I would actually be live. I thought you just enter the studio and kind of hang out a little bit before you actually start it. So good morning, Larry. Hope you're doing well. I'm going to go ahead and post the link in case you feel like jumping on and saying hi. But if not, thank you for coming in early. So as you know, we're going to be discussing these 4 things today. And let me see what time it is. Oh, I'm still 2 minutes early. So I really enjoyed Mary's and Kristen's stream the other night. Was it what was it, 2 nights ago? I actually need to go back and watch the parts that I didn't see because I joined late. I didn't even know it was running. I just turned on, opened up my phone and there was a notification for it. So I went ahead and jumped into the stream. It was a lot of fun. So I actually need to make sure I pay more attention to the notifications so that I can join the next one when it actually starts. I don't know. I was thinking of doing the album first, although maybe I should wait because since the album is short, I think more people actually, took part in that one. I should probably start with the book first because I know that's the one that probably the least people did, but I don't know. That's the one I put the most effort into, so that's the one I kind of want to save for last. So then that will be a toss-up between the Beatles and the record. I guess I can start with the Beatles, the movie. But let me ask, have you ever read Stitches by David Small? Because this was stunning. When we get to it, I was just like, I was blown away how good this was. And it's such a fast read. I think I read it in like 30 or 40 minutes. And it's relatively cheap. And yeah, I was just so happy that I finally read it. It's been sitting on my shelf like like so many of my books forever with the intention of reading it. So yeah, well, it's 10, so this is officially starting. There's Sleepy. Hi, Sleepy. Do you want to join? Well, you're on there, so you want to join. I started so early. I don't know.
You started ahead of time. Well, I came on and you said you were going to talk about the movie, and that's one of the things I did get to.
Oh, okay, so let's do the movie first. Because man,
but,
I was like,
you want to wait and see if a few more people join, or
we could just. At least you want to just generally chat about a few things, like what you've been
Larry's
up to?
watching. I see Larry's watching. I don't know if anyone else is.
He said he might pop on when we talk about the album.
I assumed he was a Beatles guy, but maybe not.
I don't see how anyone can't be a Beatles person. I mean, seriously, who actually really, really hates them? How can you hate every single?
I don't really love them.
Hi, Martin.
In fact, watching this movie made me realize I only like one of the songs in the movie.
Oh, I like the songs, but like the movie's annoying.
Well,
but
I don't love the songs. I don't think they're genius, except for the Hard Day's Night song itself.
Oh. What are some of the other songs in the movie? I don't even remember. A Hard Day's Night.
She Loves You. There's a lot of songs.
Yeah, and they were, I think almost all of them were written specifically for this movie.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I believe.
The guitar sound and I don't know, there seemed to be, it maybe it's just my mood today this morning when I was watching it, or last
So
night in the.
yeah, so we're already jumping into A Hard Day's Night by the Beatles, and Sleepy already said something very controversial about, oh, what's that? Oh, that's,
Just
yeah, where he's rising
random.
up through the floor. So that guy was a
I
famous
don't hate the Beatles.
comedian.
Let me be clear. I don't hate the
Yeah.
Beatles, but listening to the songs in this particular movie, I thought, they don't impress me as much as I thought they would. I really liked the song "A Hard Day's Night" itself.
Yeah, which was okay. So I went ahead and listened and watched a lot of the commentaries on this. So I'm going to tell you my initial.
You know far
impression.
more.
Yeah,
about
and I'm
this.
going to talk about it. So I thought this was silly and it's nonsense. I don't like comedies though, and so for me, like I know I've seen this a long time ago and I didn't like it. I still thought it was silly. It's not horrible. It's just silly. It's a comedy, right?
Well,
With
it's
some
supposed to
music
be
thrown
silly,
in.
right? I
Yeah,
mean,
it is
silly
supposed
is
to be silly.
almost its mission statement.
But Roger Ebert made a very bold statement. He said this is one of the most important musicals, right up there alongside of Singing in the Rain. And I'm just like, that kind of floored me because Singing in the Rain is a masterpiece all around, right? There's no denying that. And to put this right next to it, I was like, I need to understand why someone of his caliber would say that this is one of the most important musicals ever made. And I love musicals. And
Because of his age.
that's one of the reasons, right? Because they all saw this when it first came out in the movie theater. And
when they were maybe very young teenagers at the most.
yes, but this movie did do some things that were very interesting for the time.
Would
So
you even call it a musical? I'm surprised that it would be compared to musicals.
well, it does seem like a music video because remember how they're running in the fields and they're like all.
But a music video is different than it's like to me. Sorry to interrupt, but it's like it's a comedic skit movie with musical interludes, right? The music is not. It's not like Singing in the Rain, where the music and the story and the dancing and it all flows
kind of
one
flows
into
and move it through. I see that. So I don't know. You have to. I'm sure there are way different kinds of musicals, but they were saying like all the rock musicals or the musicals before this that featured famous people like Elvis, they would basically be a fictional story, right? And they would build, like a movie, right? But this one tried to show a real day in the life of the Beatles and what they had to go through, and what it tried to do was also
real in quotes. I mean, obviously they don't.
Of course. I mean, but right from the opening scene, like when they're running, I was laughing because people were falling down left and right. And the mob just kept running. And even two of the Beatles fell. Like in that opening shot, two of them fall down.
Right.
And they just get up and keep running. And there's
on hard concrete too.
Yep. And there's another scene right after it where I think it's a girl. She totally falls over. And she's like this in a fetal position. And people are all running over her. And I was like, what they used to do in film, right? And the director, he was like, you know what? All these people are here. They stormed the place because of the Beatles. And he was like, well, why don't we make use of them? And he had them all chasing the train. I mean, in a sense, this is kind of real, like what the Beatles were going through.
Well, yeah, I mean, some of it. Yeah, but
I mean, it's
all of
manufactured.
the funny bits, I don't think those were all,
Yeah, I mean,
very carefully set up.
Yes. And so, for example, they kind of shot it in chronological order. So the first scene is on the train, right? And they have that. I guess he's a famous British comedian. I didn't know him. Now, of course, the Beatles have really eclipsed that guy. But he was there for Star Power. You know, the one they keep saying.
Oh, really?
Clean old man.
The clean old grandfather of Paul McCartney.
But all of the Beatles were super nervous because they'd never acted before, and they wanted this, of course, to go well. Oh, and the funny thing was that when they contracted to do this movie, they were really big in Britain, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then before it actually started, they did the Ed Sullivan Show. And so then they blew up and they came back to do this movie. And it was just like, it was beyond their expectations, what they thought. Like initially, one of the people asked, do you think the Beatles are going to last? And the director was like, well, they're going to last long enough for this movie to come out. And so it's worth making it for that reason. But one of the things that the director tried to do was show the claustrophobic element that the Beatles had to go through because they constantly had to hide their identities or stay away. So there's a couple of scenes like they always show them enclosed in rooms or like in the train car. And I never realized that, but it's a pretty cool idea. Like that the director tried to always show them like they were constantly in a claustrophobic environment.
Late in the movie, the grandfather complains, I was out to make my life more interesting. Instead, I've been closed up in rooms, one room after another. So they actually put that line in the movie.
Yep, that was purposeful that the director tried to do that. And also the director tried to take each Beatle and give them their own little side vignette. I thought those were annoying, but the director did it purposefully because he thought that the people weren't really understanding the Beatles. They were just like this group. And he wanted people to see their individual personalities. And they said that it really worked because after this movie, everybody could definitely identify each Beatle. So for that reason, it's kind of important too. I mean,
well, I like those side things. I thought that was the core of the movie.
Yeah, see, the thing is, I didn't like it overall.
Old man.
Yeah, I mean, when George is in the office, and he's also with a very famous stage actor. He's in a producer's office, and they're bantering back and forth.
Actor? Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was a famous stage actor, and it's just I just don't find that scene enjoyable at all. It's basically a young person using slang against the establishment, and you got this stuffy producer. I don't know. I didn't enjoy it.
Too close to home and teaching middle school, maybe.
So anyways,
just teasing you.
Overall the movie is fun. I didn't change my opinion of it, although my appreciation of it improved because now I know a lot more about why this is such an important movie and why it's put out on Criterion, right? So
I think it's an important movie because the Beatles remained important, right? If the Beatles had been forgotten a year later, we'd never know about this movie.
Possibly, but also I think Criterion does rescue.
I'm not saying it's a bad movie, but I'm just saying,
what happened?
Okay, I've taken over the show.
We had like a two circles of death. I don't know. They do rescue kind of vague, or I'm not sure if I say vague. What would I say? Not as prominent movies, and they do put them in their collection so that people have more of a wider access to them. But of course, it's definitely more well known because of the actual Beatle name attached with it. So this was homework for me, but it was good because I actually got a lot out of it, more out of the documentaries than the actual movie itself. Yeah, and this is like I said, this is a beautiful package by Criterion, which actually has this great. Okay, I need to hold this properly. It has this great accompanying book with a lot of text and pictures that I didn't even read. So there's something else I could look for. And of course, in the package, my copy of the DVD is still or the Blu-ray is still in the player because I have one more documentary to watch. So I really did.
And then you're going to send it to me?
It's very cheap. Criterions are only $20 when they have the sale. So no, I'm not giving away this. But what I'm going to say is one of the documentaries was hosted by Phil Collins, and it was an hour long. I think it was like an anniversary show that was on the BBC, and he hosted it, and he was actually in the audience of the concert as a kid, and they showed him, like they zeroed in on him because he was actually at the concert. And there's a bonus song on this because they cut one of the songs, and it was called "You Can't Do That." Do you actually know that song, the Beatles song, "You Can't Do That"? It's kind of, it's a Beatles
I've probably
song.
heard it. I probably heard
Yeah.
every single Beatles song at some point in my life. But
so they actually cut that out of the movie, and they presented it as part of the documentary, which is. But anyways, that documentary was really interesting to see Phil Collins, talk about his memories and then go through the history of this movie and why it was important. Yeah, and then they, interviewed a lot of the people, like the director and all that kind of stuff. So that was a really nice documentary that came with this this set. Yeah, it's filled with extras. These are all like extras right here. Special edition feature. Oops, I can't do this. There we go. Yeah. So, anyways, I'm happy that I actually took the time to delve into this. It was enjoyable. So there you go. Hard Day's Night. Do you have any? Oh wait, Larry wrote. This is a director that did the Three Musketeers, the 1973 one. He did make other movies, but I think this is probably his most famous one. My dogs are over there getting. Of course, I got to mess around. So there we go. Hard Day's Night. Any final comments on this one?
I guess you don't need my opinion. I don't know why I came on.
No, your opinion is.
You said you're done. We're done.
Oh no, go ahead. I thought you said it.
No. It's fine. It's fine. It's your show.
No, what did you want to say? Sorry if I cut you off. My dog is kind of bothering me over here. What were you gonna say?
I'll come back when you do the music.
All right. Oops. I guess, was I rude to him? Sorry. I thought he had already spoken. All right. So I guess I'll move on to. Sorry, when you're hosting a show, kind of a lot of things are going on. My dogs were bothering me. So I guess I'm going to talk about this Stitches by David Small. And this was a National Book Award finalist. And this has been sitting on my shelves forever. And so that's why I decided to go ahead and read it. Come on over here. Now, I thoroughly enjoyed this. I don't know if anybody had the time to go ahead and purchase this or look through it or read it, but this was very, very beautiful. It told an amazing story, and the art in this was really nice. Now, I do have a gripe. I wish that this had been done in color because I believe that these are all watercolors. And I think that if these had been done, for example, like this one, that's a beautiful, beautiful piece of art. But if this had been done in color, I just think it would have added a lot more to it. Oh, he directed Superman 2 and 3. I didn't know that. Wow. So yeah, he did have some other important films. Although Superman 2 is really good. I think Superman 3, that's when the quality starts to go down a bit. And then by Superman 4, that's the one with Richard Pryor, right? What is Superman 3 about? I totally forgot. But I don't think that's a very good one. And Help. Okay, so yeah, I need to investigate the director more. He actually did a lot. What was his name? Richard Pennebecker? Oh, sorry, Richard Lester. It's there on the cover. Richard Lester. So this is a story about a boy who's in a kind of an abusive family, or he's often ignored. He's different. Superman 3 was prior. Okay, so by Superman 3, and then Superman 4 was the one where he's got the flag on the cover, right? I haven't seen those movies in years, so yeah, I don't know. So Culture Fan has a comment. Let's go ahead and read it. He enjoyed Stitches. He had a rather dysfunctional family. I think it ended rather abruptly. Wish he had gone on to what he's doing now. I think there's a sequel to this, and I would actually like to get it. So I do believe that there's more, but it's really a heartbreaking story. So we find out a lot about his mother in the there's like a little explanation at the end in prose, and we find out about what he knew about his mother as an adult that he didn't understand as a child, and he didn't let a lot of that influence what he wrote about. Like, he generally put down his feelings that he had at the time, and in many at times, like, he will go off into like these dreams or nightmares, and like there's this one really cool scene where he's in a hospital. He's gone away from his parents, and he's running along in a corridor, and he sees an embryo in a jar, and he starts dreaming that the embryo comes out and is chasing him, and then that influences his nightmares later. I mean, this is really, really well done. But then it's a lot of his interaction with his family that's really interesting. And then when you do read the end of it about what he finds out later about his mom, it really does make you rethink everything that happened in the book. So let's see. Let's look at some of the comments. A supercomputer that taps into everything creates fake kryptonite. Yeah, it's been a while. Like, I don't even think I've seen those Superman movies in years and years. I should revisit them. I just remember them just like the Planet of the Apes. Like, when you watch one of them, they go down in quality. But I rewatched almost all the Planet of the Apes recently. I didn't get to like the last one or two of them, but I still enjoyed them. So I'm sure that if I rewatched the Superman movies now, I would probably enjoy them, because I already know like they go down in quality, but I'm sure they're still kind of fun. Hi, Mary. So we were just talking about Stitches, but I'm kind of done already. I was talking about the beautiful art in this, and how I wish that this had been done in color, because I think that would have really enhanced this book. But even without color, this is a gorgeous book, and the art in it is just great. And here's another example. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and move on to the audio. Oh, so Morton says he has all 4 in a DVD box. Are they on HBO? I don't know. I would have to see. I remember one of the Superman, I think it's Superman 2, right? They have a new director's cut where they added things. I remember when I watched it on, like, it was on TV. Of course, I think I saw it at the movie theater, right? And then they put it on TV, and there were other scenes, and it was way back in the day when sometimes usually TV would cut things out, but in certain instances, sometimes they would add scenes that weren't in the movie theater. So that was interesting. Oh, so yeah, they are on Max streaming. So maybe we should all try to watch all 4 of those, so that we have something to talk about. There you go, the Donner cut. So yeah. There's also a Richard Donner cut. Yep, there we go. So I think people have seen that one. So Larry wants to jump in. Hi, Larry.
Hey.
So, are you here to talk about Superman?
Oh, no.
So, how you doing today?
Not too bad. I'm still trying to get this worked out here.
All right.
Too dark.
So, I'm doing okay. Oh, my sister's here. Hi, Linda. Was the director's cut a 3-hour TV edit? I don't remember. I remember when it came out, I watched it and I knew more about it, but it's been like years since that director's cut came out. I don't even remember much about it. Yeah, I don't remember when that came out. It's been a good at least 5 years since that's been out, right? Maybe 10. Who knows?
We were talking about that that Musketeer movie, it seemed like there was some controversy about that, but I can't remember what it was. Can you?
No, I don't even know if I've seen it.
I liked it a lot. It had Richard Chamberlain and 2 or 3 other big stars in it.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that one actually. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about this is Mark Lanegan band Blues Funeral with this gorgeous cover. So, what did you think? I'm going to ask that first because I think I didn't ask Sleepy what he thought.
I liked it a lot. I had never heard of this guy, or at least I didn't remember hearing about him. But then when I kind of looked on the Wikipedia and some other places, and he was apparently part of Screaming Trees, and I kind of remember them a little bit, and Queens of the Stone Age, which I'm not that familiar with them, but I liked it. It, somebody described it as almost sounding like a funeral dirge, and it kind of does, take it as a whole. There's a lot of slow, heavy songs, right? But I like the faster ones better. There's only a few, but the Gravedigger song and Riot in My House and Quiver Syndrome, that was my 3 favorites. But I didn't really dislike any of them, but the slow, heavy funeral dirge it's a lot after a while. Did you get that impression?
Yes. So I actually bought this when it first came out. I was probably attracted to the cover more than anything. I'd never heard of or listened to the Screaming Trees. I was out of the country, I think, for a lot of that time. However, Sleepy recommended 2 Screaming Trees albums to me. And why do I have balloons? Let me say,
Apple,
let's see if it happens again. Sleepy recommended 2 of them to me. No, I don't know. It didn't happen again. And I put all 3 of these on one Spotify list. So every time I listen to this, I listen to those 2 as well. And I ended up really enjoying those CDs as well. But this one definitely does have a different feel to it. It is, even though it's very rocky, like it rocks, but it does have that somber dirge-like quality to it.
Yeah.
And so Sleepy says, Riot in My House was my favorite. I think the songs are stronger on their own than when all played in a row. There were definitely times that that things do stand out. So let me see. This one is Riot in My House, which is track 5 on this one. I do like the Gravedigger song. I think that really starts up the album with this. It's got this like really cool bass kind of beat to it.
It's kind of a grunginess a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Sleepy's back. So let me get him in here. Love your shirt, by the way. You got Sun Records. You got Monsters. Oh, that Monsters is cool. Sun Records.
Have you been there?
Nothing. No, I haven't.
I've been there like 2 or 3 times, but.
Who is this Barry fella? I don't understand. What does that mean? But anyway,
Mark Lanegan's the name of the singer.
Yeah, Mark Lanegan band.
In case that was a confusion for Elon.
And sorry, there it is. It's trying to get that centered. Blues Funeral, Mark Lanegan. So as we were saying, Mark Lanegan was part of the Screaming Trees. Yeah, there it is. It has the thing at the top of it, which is nice. And I think he made 1, maybe 2 more albums after this before he died. Right. So
he has a lot of albums though, because some are under Mark Lanegan Band and some are under Mark Lanegan. And when you add them all up, it seems like there's like 10 or 12 albums, solo albums.
Oh, really? That's a lot. This is the only one that I really listened to. I don't know why. I listened to another one, and I don't like upon initial listening, I didn't like it as much, so I just stuck with this one. And I'm going to say that I actually went to this concert, and it was at a very small outdoor venue. I was very close. It was one of the worst concerts I've ever been to. I was so disappointed. Wow. After loving this album, I just thought it would be a great concert, but I was very shocked at how bad.
Why was it bad?
I don't know. It was just supremely boring from beginning to end. And I've been to so many concerts, right? And I've never really had that feeling except one other time. and I don't know why. So I kind of like to forget about that concert and I just keep focusing on this, because I really do think, let me cover up that light. I really do think that this is a really, really nice album. I'm not going to say it's a Stone Cold classic. The reason I picked it is because I hadn't listened to it in so long, and I wanted to give it another shot, and I still think it holds up.
I reading about him, he was strung out on heroin most of his life. So I wonder if that fed into the concert not working out well.
He kind of reminded me a little bit of the Typo Negative singer. I can't think of his name. Peter something, right?
Oh, right, with a very deep voice and all.
Yeah.
So I don't actually know a lot about that whole, except for Nirvana. I'm like so bad about all of that scene. But yeah, like I said, I picked it up just for the cover.
After reading about all his struggles with drugs and alcohol, and then reading the lyrics, it all is like kind of a suicide note or something. It's all very dark and
yeah.
But I don't think he committed.
There comes the dirge likeness that Larry's talking about.
Yeah, I don't think he committed suicide unless it was a slow form because of drugs.
What I read, it said there was no reason.
But I think he must have spent much of his life thinking about it.
Yeah,
I think he might have even been shooting up with the guy from Nirvana before he died.
Yeah.
So
Cobain.
I think he's led a very grim kind of existence, which is sad.
Yeah, because there's a lot of beauty in these songs.
But it's a lot of sad beauty, really, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. Really.
Yeah, I think it's just a lot. You know, it's so heavy, some of it. But the three faster ones I like the best. But like I said, I didn't really dislike any of it. But it's not for everyone. My wife walked through the room when I was playing this. She was like, "What are you listening to?"
Yeah, I mean, it can be, but I actually don't think it sounds bad at all. I mean, it's not like you're putting on like one of those death metal records that I've listened to a bunch of those, and I'm just like, your hair stands up on end.
Right.
This actually, I think, sounds beautiful, but in a dark way. I mean, it does have its heavier elements to it.
And I assume you liked it better than those Screaming Tree albums that I like.
Actually, I really like those. There were definitely standout tracks on both of those albums, but they were very nice. So I actually think I need to give his output a little bit more consideration, because you gave me two, and I enjoyed both of them. I definitely.
And there's a lot more Screaming Tree albums. Those were just the two I remembered.
Yeah.
I need to listen to that again. It's been years. Can't remember how much I liked it. It seems like I liked them though.
Do you remember the names of the albums that you recommended? I have them in my list. I could look them up.
Now I've forgotten.
Yeah, I've got it here. They were.
I can picture the covers. One is a yellow cover, and the other one's called Dust, I think.
Yeah, and I even had them, and one more was. Let's see. I'm afraid, like, when I click it starts playing. Sweet Oblivion.
Yes, that was one of their breakthrough albums, I think.
And the other one was
I think the other one's called Dust, or maybe it was a different one that I recommended.
Oh, you know what? The covers look very similar. The color schemes are the same. Like, you can't even tell they're two different albums, but they are.
Wow.
Yeah. So what? Let me push pause on them. No, when you look at them up close, they totally look different, the art. So that was the other one that you recommended, and that one was called Uncle Anesthesia.
Oh, Uncle Anesthesia. Yeah. Okay. That was slightly early. So to me, I liked his solo album. I like the Screaming Trees more, I think, because it feels like a live band interacting with each other. And so that makes it a little more lively, even though it also has kind of a sad tone to it. Whereas the Blues Funeral is really good, but it's kind of a constructed studio album with a drum machine and that kind of, you don't feel the band kind of going back and forth with each other.
And that's something I'm so oblivious to, because so many people mention that, or maybe it's just you. But also Kim mentions this idea of like the drums being like, not real and like constructed, and my brain misses all of that. I don't know why I don't tune into that. It's just something I don't hear. And so I totally missed that.
When you have a live drummer, either subtly or not so subtly, the beat actually shifts a little bit here and there.
It won't be perfect.
Right. And that human quality, to me, makes a big difference. And so the whole band is being led by the drummer in a way. And so the band shifts and little things go on. But also, I think because he was working with a whole, in the Screaming Trees, it was a group and probably everyone put in their ideas so that there were different parts of the song. Whereas on his solo thing, each song is kind of a single unit with no separate parts in a way. If that makes sense.
A lot of people
I'm not a musician, so I'm not good at describing it.
Some people thought this album was overproduced. I think,
that's
everything. All of the instruments were messed with. All the tracks were,
Right. And then when he toured behind the album, which you saw him on, he probably just hired a bunch of backing musicians to try to recreate the album rather than them being the musicians that helped him create the album, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that's true. I'm trying to think, like, I know Prince. Like Prince, he recorded a lot of in his early albums, he recorded everything separately. He played every instrument and then put it together. So, but that, again, I guess he would still do the drum. I don't know if he did the drumming or used a machine.
Yeah, I think he probably did do the drumming, and he probably then had to play off his own drumming.
So I'm kind of thinking
he's a modern day Mozart, so it's kind of hard to compare other people to him.
But have you ever seen when Green Day live? Sometimes, not often, but for certain tracks, Billy would go take the drums. The drummer would sing a song, and it would be almost seamless. He would just walk behind there and just take over.
That's cool.
Those guys are,
But I was wondering, did Mark Lanegan actually play all those parts? Like
that, I don't know. But I
put
just
it all together.
I just think he probably programmed parts of it and then brought in musicians to just play parts and then sang over a track. That's my guess. Yeah. But it's still a really good album. And ultimately, I'm glad you made me listen to it because I only knew the Screaming Trees and I didn't know he'd done work afterwards.
Yeah.
And I think I will like this album even more as I stick favorite songs into playlists. Because these songs, you actually need a break from his style, and then hear something different, then hear him again, and it'll.
Yeah, there are some really good standout tracks here, and like you mentioned, the lyrics, they're dark, but they're nice.
They're very poetic.
And I think Gore Vidal might like the lyrics because he's always. My dog just won't stop. Like Gore Vidal would like really, I think, enjoy the lyrics. To this album. So Morton says he recorded with Isabel Campbell, who was in Belle and Sebastian. Okay. I actually haven't delved into Belle and Sebastian too much. I've got huge gaps in my musical knowledge. I think we all do, but that's just one of my glaring gaps. That whole British.
I also really like the song Leviathan. Did you have other favorite songs, David?
Here's the thing. I listened to this, like I just listened to it as a complete thing. And certainly some tracks stick out, but I don't remember the names of them. And I mean, I listened to this thing over and over again, and so none of them stick out. So I'm gonna. What did you say?
I was looking at lyrics a lot because the iPad allows me to do that.
Yeah, that's a really cool feature, especially also with Spotify. You can, while you're listening to the song, you can click on it and the lyrics come and it scrolls through. So you could actually do karaoke that way with the songs. You can hook it up.
YouTube Music does that too. It's
a common feature now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's nice for karaoke because you can have your Spotify going and the lyrics and you can sing along with it. All you have to do is have a microphone and hook your iPad, which is better on an iPad. Because then
you can see the lyrics better.
Can see the lyrics. I've done that plenty of times at parties, and it really works. It's a lot of fun.
Can I just read a brief bit of lyrics from Leviathan?
Of course.
Leviathan waits in the water, skeletons hide in the trees, the hours crawl by like a spider, hangman is following me. At sorrow's door, a century more, in the rays of a setting sun. So I don't know, I equate that with him battling his heroin addiction and contemplating suicide, but I don't know if I interpret that correctly. But.
No,
but it's very powerful in the way it's written.
Yeah, that's gorgeous. And I was going through some of the lyrics in some of the earlier songs, and I was remarking how beautiful they are. I wanted to go through all the lyrics of the entire album, but I kind of lost track of time and I wasn't able to do that. But they are beautiful lyrics.
It's not just that song. I just happened to remember that I liked the lyrics in that song.
Yeah. Yeah, I tend to just kind of listen to albums and they kind of seep into me. I don't often pay attention to the lyrics. They come in secondary. Like after I learn the songs, I start singing along with them and I get more and more familiar. That's kind of my process when I do this. So I usually don't jump right into the lyrics.
Where do you typically listen to music? Do you use earbuds or do you do it in your car or what?
No, unfortunately, I don't often listen to music in my car, and that's too bad because my car has a really nice sound system in it. I usually listen to audiobooks to and from work. But what I do is I listen to music while I'm in this garage or when I'm reading in bed before I go to bed. Yeah, so in my bedroom. But yeah, a lot of the music is here, and I actually have an old iPhone hooked up to a Bluetooth speaker, and it's really convenient because I just click Spotify here and I click a button and the speaker turns on right from my phone. It's like modern technology. I love it. Right? I don't even have to get up, to adjust the volume, or even though I need my steps, right? I should be getting up more, but it's so cool to be able to do that. So yeah.
Well, anyway, thank you for turning me on to this album. I'm really glad.
Yeah. So Elon says I look very clean. So I guess I'm a clean old man, is what he's trying to say. Thanks.
Does that mean the rest of us are dirty old men?
but he left out the old man part. But it's implied. We know.
Well, you got 3 gray beards here, so
Oh, that's true.
We may be all older than the old man in the Hard Day's Night.
That's true. And to think that like that guy was a famous British comedian, and they got him for the star power. It's pretty funny. But yeah. And like I said, a bunch of the bit people in that movie, they were famous in stage and screen at the time, and that's why they wanted them to kind of bolster up the movie. Pretty funny.
I don't think I've ever seen the whole thing, but
you aren't missing much, to be honest.
I remember liking what I've seen, but
it's fun. It's silly. It's a comedy.
But I'm a big Beatles fan, so
you would probably enjoy it then. The director, like I said, he does try to make each Beatle stand out, and he made that happen. And Mad Season with Lane Staley from Alice in Chains and Mike Creedy from Pearl Jam worked with Manic Street Preachers' Uncle and Moby. So yeah, he worked with a lot of people in that scene. He's definitely he must be influential in many ways. I mean, he's certainly an accomplished musician and lyricist, right? So he deserves that credit for sure. All right. Did everybody freeze?
Nope.
Oh, you're both sitting there like I was like, are we frozen? All right. So, Sleepy, let me ask you, are we done? Are we done with this one?
This time I got to say everything I had to say.
Thank you. Please, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just like what was going on. Do you have
harder to manage
to
this than people think, isn't it?
No, Sleepy's thoughts are important to me. I didn't want to cut him off and like I didn't mean to do that. So would you like to say some final thoughts about Hard Day's Night? Here you go. We'll go back. Some final thoughts on Hard Day's Night? Now you're on the spot.
I thought as a whole, the movie was a comedy, not a musical, and it was fascinating to see the sense of humor from 1964 in England compared to, humor is very much of its time. And so I thought it was a really interesting time capsule of humor.
So before we move on, let me ask you, so you don't consider it a musical because of the way it would break and go to a song, but not be part of the narrative?
Right. I thought it was a comedy with some music videos stuck in the middle.
Okay, so what about Blues Brothers? Is that a musical or not a musical? I got in an argument with somebody the other day.
That's a good question. I'm not sure.
They convinced me that it was not a musical because the same reason, because it
didn't they just have a
that feels like the music's a little more integrated into the plot.
Yeah, maybe.
But I guess these are all gray areas. It's just the way I viewed it as it was almost like a string of skits put together. And it took me a while to get into the sense of humor of 1964. But after a while, it started to seem really funny to me. The pace is much slower. There's these kind of slow takes where you're, they don't hit all the jokes over the head. They're just sort of tossed in here and there. So I thought it was very cool for that. And I feel like it's famous for its style. Like, I think that's what made Richard Lester famous, was the style he gave the movie.
Yeah.
And so I really liked it for that. I tried showing it to my daughter. She got bored within 2 minutes and left.
Okay. I have something in common with your daughter. So I also want to say that a friend of mine, she said that this, like you were saying, like this is a good time capsule. It also shows London, right? Of that time.
Right.
Like the cars, the dress, like everything.
The way everyone dresses. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is the sound of music a musical?
Yes.
My sister, like, yes. Yes, that absolutely is a musical. I had another thing to say, but I forgot. I think it was Ebert. Wait, Siskel. Which one of them has the glasses? He said again that if this had been done in color, it would have been forgotten. It wouldn't have been as important as it is because it was done in black and white, and that was a choice. But that's a really interesting thing to say, right? Like, how often would you think of that? Like that making it such an integral part of this movie that it was done in black and white. That really makes this be remembered and not forgotten.
I think if you're a fan of great cinematography, perhaps that's an issue.
Yeah.
And it seem filmed really nicely. So you might have had a different effect in color, but I don't know if that makes people remember a movie.
That's just a really weird, like he was making some of these really crazy, bold statements about this movie that just like would strike me. Like this is one of the most important musicals that's right alongside, like I said, Singing in the Rain. And then like that one I just told you, it's just like, and I mean, he's an important critic. You got to listen to what he says, right? Whether you believe it or not, whether you agree with it or not. But it's really interesting food for thought, in my opinion.
Well, there's a movie. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Larry.
I was just saying I got to see Gene Siskel lecture one time. A few years before, well, it was a lot of years before he died, but he came to a local college and we got to see that. It was pretty good. But it's not related.
I loved both of them. I used to watch them, of course, on PBS, and then they moved over. They were great together, and it was a shame. I always thought it was a shame when they would argue too much and it became personal. I just thought that was really bad. It was sad. Like they couldn't keep her
sometimes, didn't it?
I mean, I think that got them fame, but I think ultimately that was their downfall as a team because they just kept getting angry and angrier at each other. Yeah, but whatever. That's old history. All right, so Sleepy, we're done.
Yes, sir.
Yay. Okay, so now we're gonna go on to Day of the Triffids. If you want to stay, you can. If you want to jump off and come back later for this or not. So I just finished this awesome light show. I just finished this morning. I absolutely loved this book. Did either of you read it or read it in the past?
I've read it in the past, and I tried to reread it, but I just couldn't fit it in.
Nope, no worries.
And I listened to the beginning of a BBC radio dramatization of it too.
I think I've seen a movie version. Was there a Hammer version of this? Maybe.
I think it was a BBC, but to me they're the same. Anything British, like your computer's going crazy. Now you've got a windstorm going on.
I'm trying to take over the show.
That's fine.
You guys with your Apple computer, see, that's what.
Yeah.
So Help was shot in color and I had a bit more story-wise, perhaps not as well received. Yeah, he did mention that, like that. I think Help isn't the superior movie. It's actually Hard Day's Night. Vinyl Richie, yeah, you missed Hard Day's Night. But if you would like to come on and give your thoughts about it, jump in. I just posted the link. I'll do it again. We're backtracking a lot because I slighted Sleepy earlier. Here we go. I'm posting it.
How you're making him rain.
Yeah. So I post if Vinyl, if you want to jump on and give your thoughts, go ahead. Otherwise, you can post some in the comments. I'm just going
go
through.
Ahead, take off. Okay.
Thank you. I'm just going through the.
Bye, Larry.
Bye, Larry. I'm kind of going through the comments right now. Siskel and Ebert were close friends, although they disagreed often. But I remember them on the show, like they would insult each other. Like it got to the point where they were like really, really insulting each other. I don't know if they were friends. It didn't seem that way, although I don't really know that much about it. I don't know what. Oh, virtual. What? Yeah. Sorry, I don't know what that one means. Yes, VR. Rain is appropriate. That's for sure. Help is a turd. Maybe that one was the one that I saw. I think I've seen all the Beatles movies at some point. I just never really liked them. Even Yellow Submarine is like so boring for a cartoon. But I haven't seen it in years and years and years. I'd probably appreciate it more as an adult. Why I can't do this? I'm still 1/3 into the current book I started 17 months ago. I actually have that problem. I'm kind of using this show to force me to read physically because it's giving me a deadline. I have a stack of about 20 books that I'm halfway through. It's really bad because I don't read as much as I used to. And so this is physically like forcing me to sit down and I finished it this morning. I had a month and I got it done. I mean, that's real. And you know, the fault is YouTube and our phones. The fault is ultimately me, right? Because I'm distracted by these things. They take up a lot of our time when I used to spend a lot more time reading.
We should not be making these videos. We're ruining people's lives.
Exactly. It's because of this video that I'm not reading right now. I can come on. Oh, I can't come on. So did you like Hard Day's Night or was it a chore to watch? So ultimately for me, I thought it was okay. I thought it was silly. But what I did love was all the special features in the movie that gave me a lot of history and background. I watched a lot of them and it made me appreciate the movie more, but not necessarily like it more. So that's my ultimate verdict. And Sleepy, what did you say? I
ultimately liked it a lot as a comedy and a picture of its own times.
Yes. So those were our two final verdicts. Vinyl, did you like it or do you like it? Apropos of nothing, that's the title of the book. So I hear you, Morton. So yeah, Vinyl, go ahead and tell us what you think of the movie. I know you can't get on, but okay, we will go on. We're waiting.
Do you want me to stay here while you do the book, or would you rather I go off?
No, it's what you feel comfortable.
My memories of the book are very faint.
Then I'll talk a lot. That's no problem for me.
As long as you don't mind me being here.
No, I don't mind. So this book, I don't even know when it was written. I think it was early 60s. I should have looked that up. 51. It also has an introduction by John Vandermeer, which I wanted to read after I read the book, and I forgot to go back and do that. Of course, I love Jeff Vandermeer. He wrote the Arrival. No, not Arrival. Annihilation series, and I thought that was amazing. So this book, it's got some weird coincidences. There's like 3 of them, which I was hoping that the author would kind of put together and make sense of. So you've got 3 events, and I think I'm going to have to do a little bit of spoiling, right? So this is about a meteor shower that makes the world blind. So anybody who watched the meteor shower goes blind, and that's a huge spoiler. I'm sorry, because at the beginning of the book, I didn't know what was going on, and there's this hospital scene, and this is the same scene out of 28 Days Later and The Walking Dead. Both movies start that way, and they got it right from this.
Yeah,
this is a huge inspiration on zombie films. Huge. Did you want to say something about that?
No, I was just agreeing with you. They all ripped off this book.
Yes. And when he opens the hospital door and he hears this moaning, I didn't know what was going on. And it was actually a freaky scene in the book because I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what the effect of the meteor shower was. I didn't know if they'd been turned into zombies. They hadn't. They were just blind. Right. And so basically it's post-apocalyptic from there. But early in the book, there are these plants that are introduced, and the plants become insidious because they kill people. They have these whip-like lashes that not blind you. They do blind you. And so they always go for the face or the head. And it's so poisonous. They have poison on these things that it immediately, the venom enters your eyes or your skin, and most likely you're killed on the spot. And the reason that this guy was saved, he was actually working on a farm with these Triffids, and he fell down and got hit in the back of the head or something. And so that's how he was not blinded. But basically it's post-apocalyptic from there. And this, like a friend of mine pointed out, the Triffids stand in for zombies because they can walk and they shamble along, and they try to attack you, and then they consume you. They're like Venus flytraps. And so I was hoping that the author would somehow kind of link the two. Like, these Triffid plants just arrive out of nowhere, possibly from outer space, but it's never explained. And then you've got this weird meteor shower. Later it is tried to be explained, but I thought it was too coincidental. I thought that they should be linked somehow, that maybe the plants created the meteors. It's a little quibble. This book is excellent. All the way to the end, they were encountering situations that were keeping me on the edge of my seat. How they're trying to rebuild civilization after the fall. Just, the beginning of the book where they just have to leave all these poor blinded people to their fate, which is ultimately starvation or death by the Triffids. It's really, really a gripping book. So there you go. That's what I have to say about it. So now I can turn it over to you.
No. I just vaguely remember the book. I found the idea of walking plants a little hard to take at the time. I remember that.
Yeah, they were shuffling. I actually think there are real plants that can move. I think, and I didn't look it up, but I do think there are some plants who. Is that true? Is this like bad sci-fi that I'm making reality? Are there actually plants that can move from one place to another, but not like these, like walking around cities and everything? But I do think that there are some plants that can move slightly.
But I think you make a great point. Maybe this is the origin point of the modern zombie concept. Someone just along the way said, "Wait a minute, these Triffids ought to be zombies." And so all the zombie apocalypses maybe come out of this book.
Okay, we have to stop and we have to berate Vinyl. You're like as bad as one of my students. They would make it gay, so that means make it bad. So you're equating gay with bad, and I don't like that, Vinyl. Can you pick a different word? But anyways, Vital, I get it. That's what modern movies do. See, even Sleepy doesn't like it. He's storming on you. But it was made into a movie, but in 1963. I would actually like to watch that movie.
Yeah, I've never seen the movie. For some reason, I have the impression it didn't follow the book very closely.
Oh, Larry, I'm sorry. I spoiled the hell out of it. Although there's a lot more to it. I really, really spoiled the beginning.
It's really problematic, right? Because the spoiler happens at the beginning of the book. So
yes, but it really did create this creepy tension.
Yeah.
Like this guy wakes up in a hospital and his head is bandaged, right? And he's like, and he's sitting there. And the thing is, he can't take the bandage off his eyes because he's been warned that if he takes them off too early, it could permanently affect his eyes. And so he's sitting in a hospital room for at least a day and no one's coming. And he's like buzzing for the nurses and he doesn't know what's going on. And like finally he decides to take off the wrapping and he's worried that, it's going to affect. I mean, and you're getting this all first person, which is so cool. It's one of my favorite writing styles, right? Because we're trapped with him. We don't know what's going on. And
Right.
so when he's wrapped up in darkness, we're right there with him. We don't know. And I love that type of writing. There's a bunch of comments. Let's jump through them. Morton, I got more out of the monkey's head than A Hard Day's Night. I've never seen that. Love the Beatles. I have this thing. I cannot stand John Lennon. I think he was the best. Part him, part being told by classmates it was moronic to prefer McCartney. I guess. They refer to McCartney as the pretty one. They even say that in the movie. Definitely McCartney has talent, but man,
yes, best grandfather.
And John Lennon's solo career eclipses McCartney's. Like McCartney's writing is fluff compared to John Lennon. I know that's going to ruffle some feathers, but his songs are like, they're dumb, they're pop, but his had like real meaning. Like his album where he explores his whole psyche and does that screaming technique like that. I mean, that stuff is powerful. So I don't know, maybe this is going to go off on a Lennon versus McCartney. I love Paul McCartney, by the way, but I'm just saying John Lennon is like light years above him. So there you go. I said it. Let's see what do you think about that?
Well, I wasn't sure if he meant he doesn't like John Lennon as a person, because John Lennon comes off as a certain type of person in the movie.
He does. He's very arrogant.
He's kind of arrogant and pretentious.
He is. But he says
I think George Harrison comes off as the most likable one in the movie.
Yeah, he says that he was told by classmates it was moronic to prefer McCartney, so that's kind of what he likes more. He stuck to his guns. Yeah, he stuck to his guns. Larry says Swamp Thing. I don't know what do you mean, Larry? That's like a random. It's from a comment we said before, but I don't know. Go ahead and explain that. At this point, Biden is a
Swamp Thing is a walking plant.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Swamp Thing is a walking plant. Yeah, I'm really behind on but he's not real, Larry.
I prefer the moving plant to the I don't even know how to describe Trump, but
yeah, that's hilarious. Vito, you make up for your gay comment with that one. A small flow of Triffids, a meteor shower, wouldn't hit the whole world all at once. There's a BBC series about Triffids as well. They do explain that later, that they think that there was some kind of like people were gearing up for war and they put all these satellites in orbit with different kinds of ways to destroy the human race just in case they ever needed it at a push of a button. And something maybe went wrong with the satellite and that released all of that kind of chemical into the atmosphere, all that dispersed all around the earth. Like he did explain it, and to me that kind of made sense, but I still wanted there to be a connection with the Triffids.
In the BBC one, which I didn't get to listen to the whole thing, they set up at the beginning. It starts with the invention of the Triffids by genetic manipulation, that they're a oil substitute.
You know what? I do remember a line or two in the book saying that they could have possibly been created in a lab.
Right. But in the BBC thing, it's very definitive. And also it's very definitive that the comet gave off this dust that filled the entire atmosphere of Earth, and so it got into everyone's eyes.
Yes. So yeah, I'm
maybe
saying
that was in the book, because
I didn't explain it as well as the book did, because the book makes sense. I just would have liked that all these coincidental things happening at once possibly be connected. That's just me wanting some of that. It will be long before I get to it. I'll probably forget the spoilers. Oh, that's good. Gay isn't bad. It is gay. So you're saying that the movie's going to have a lot of gay people in it with like scantily clad women. I don't know. Stop while you're
that's
not
good
ahead.
for everybody, right?
Stop while you're not ahead, I guess. Final. Your spoiler makes me want to read it. I'm a big Walking Dead fan. Yeah, when I first watched Walking Dead or read the comics, even I think because I read the comics way before the movie, I remember thinking that 28 Days Later came before that. But I don't know if the comic came first or the movie. But when I had read the comic, I had already seen 28 Days Later. And so I don't know which came first, chicken or egg.
The comic came first, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, they both start the same.
Definitely the movie came before the TV show, but
yeah, it's almost like a zombie trope now, that someone wakes up in a hospital after everything has already happened, right? And they got to realize what's going on. We have to realize with them. Ma and you both, Mary. I like Lennon more, but I love McCartney too. I'm the same way. I grew up with Paul McCartney. I love Band on the Run. I think it's a great album, but ultimately, like, the songs aren't about much. I'm probably going to get some flack for that. A walking plant. Apparently, yeah, again, Swamp Thing isn't a real plant, Larry. Like, is Man Thing real? Apparently, there was a 1981 TV series and in 2001 of Triffids. 2009. Lennon forces himself on you. Oh, he violates you, I guess. McCartney writes substance out playing with words like Neil Finn. I like other people's opinions. I often prefer it when they don't mesh. Yeah, I'm not saying McCartney's horrible. I love him. I just think John had a lot more of importance to say. I'm not saying McCartney didn't do or hasn't done amazing things. He certainly has. I probably should also stop while I'm ahead. One thing for sure is Lennon with McCartney was an amazing thing that will never be forgotten. That's true. Of course, both of them were much better together. Who wishes they had never filmed Why? I loved that show, and I don't know. I really wish that was another show that had been continued. I thought Why, The Last Man show. I have read all the comics, I believe. Yeah, I read the entire thing. I thought the show was great.
I didn't even know it was a show.
Yeah, it was
they
really
didn't get
good.
to complete the story, I'm guessing.
Probably, yeah. No, I think they only had one season, and I thought the people that they got to be the political people, I just thought that they did a great job. So many people bag on the shows that they make, but the show is really quality. So sorry, Martin, I disagree wholeheartedly. But I like you as a person. So much potential with Why, and they. Okay, sorry, I disagree. I loved the show. I thought it was great.
Did they add chicks and make it gay?
I think they made it gay, and I like that, I guess.
Wasn't it originally supposed to be a story with all men in it and no chicks ruining the story?
Oh, yeah, you're right. I mean, that thing was all chicks. So, yeah, I really, really liked that show. I thought they did a great job with it. But I'm like the one person out there who loves Stargate Universe. I think that's the best sci-fi show ever made, and it's overwhelmingly wild. I think that's the best SF show ever. Yeah, most people hate it. I don't get it. I don't understand. I was gutted when there wasn't a third season because the second season ends on this huge cliffhanger. I mean, gut-wrenching. And I really wanted to know what happened. I owned the whole comic, loved them, could not stand the show. Well, I loved the show. Watch it again. Maybe you'll enjoy it a second time around. I enjoyed what we got of it, but they blew it by not continuing. Okay, yeah, that makes sense, right? Because enough people didn't watch it. And it's hard because we were talking about, let's see, there was on Mary and Kristen's, they were talking about shows that initially falter and the first seasons aren't really that good, but then by the second, third, fourth season, they really find their footing. These days, shows don't get the opportunity to falter. If they aren't popular from the get-go, they are canceled. And I mean, yes, they're putting up a lot of money and taking a lot of chances, but a lot of these shows don't get the opportunity to actually, thrive. It's sad.
I kind of wish they wouldn't adopt things like Why the Last Man unless they have a commitment to do the whole story.
That's true.
It's one thing to do something where every season is a complete story, and then great if there's another season, but if there isn't, you don't lose out. But
yeah. As for Stargate, this is so weird. I'd only seen the movie, and I only watched Stargate Universe because it had the famous actor in it. I really liked him. I forget his name. He's a super famous actor. He was in Trainspotting. He was in he played Rumpelstiltskin later in that one like horrible fairy tale show, which I watched every single episode of that. What's that guy's name? Somebody in the comments, but I love him as an actor. Oh, he was also in 28 Days or 28 Months Later. He was in the second one.
I think I can picture who you're talking about, but I don't know his name.
Robert Carlyle, I think.
Robert Carlyle, right.
So he's in Stargate Universe, and he's a movie star, and they got him.
That makes me want to try Stargate Universe, because I tried the early Stargate TV shows, and they were so stiff and wooden, I couldn't really take it.
So that's the thing. I'd never seen any of those. And I've actually gone back, and I watched the entire Stargate, the first show, and I got through half of Atlantis. I want to continue it. I just lost the track. And I actually really, really ended up enjoying those. Like, I was the same thing. They look like Trek ripoffs. But I actually really got into all the characters, especially Teal'c. I loved Teal'c. And so I'm like,
is that the bald guy?
Yes, and he's the one who does God of War, like the voice of the God of War character now. But I fell in love with that show, and I was surprised because I resisted watching it for so long. And then I started watching Atlantis, and I didn't get too far. I'm like into the second season, I think. I need to pick it back up. They're still not as good as Universe. That show was beyond, and everybody really, really hated it because it looks like Battlestar Galactica, and it ripped off a lot of the things that Battlestar Galactica did. But if you get past that, right, they were trying to get that style, a new style, because this is stylistically very different from those other Stargate shows. All the Stargates are pretty good. It all depends on one taste. Yeah, Sleepy, we should watch a couple episodes of Stargate Universe together, and because, man, I think that's the best sci-fi show out there.
Okay.
I think it's better than Battlestar.
Come over to my house, bring some beer, and we'll watch it.
Okay. Morton said, I started watching Star Trek after I asked more stuff with an actor and a Steven film. Okay, this is a long comment. Based on a Roddy Doyle book, The Snapper of Colomini. Oh, I really like Colomini.
Yes, he's
I really like him. He was also in the movie. The book actually won the Booker Prize about singers in
right. Yeah. What's that?
And it's a great book. The book is better than the movie. The Commitments. And I think it's called The Commitments. And that actually spawned another movie, like a Commitments Part 2. Like, it became like really popular when it came out. I still think the book is so well written.
Is that a Roddy Doyle book? A Roddy Doyle book?
Yeah, and his book also. Yeah, his other book, Patty Doyle, Ha Ha Ha, I think it's called. That book is phenomenal, and it's also pretty devastating. Calm is in all the Roddy Doyle films. Yep, I would guess so. So we have this friend joining in. Okay, so we're done. We're getting a lot of comments, which is good, but I want to talk about what we're gonna do next month. How are we doing with time? Dang, over an hour and 14 minutes. I wanted this to be under an hour. I just chat too much. Okay. I was on YouTube this morning, right before this, and I found out that March is Mammoth Book Month. I did not know that. March Mammoth, it's called, or Mammoth March, or something like that. Now, I was originally going to go with a war theme because March is Mars, god of war. And so I was going to do that. But then when I totally changed all my plans, which is what Garage Geek often does. So we're going to start with book. So the book, you know, if you're bored with this, you can jump off. You don't have to. But no, I don't.
Sorry,
okay. So we're starting with The Arabian Nights, Tales of 1001 Nights, Volume 1. Now, that is a mammoth book if there ever was one. But the reason I picked this is that you can just jump in and do a couple because they're all short stories. So if anybody would want, like, this goes from night 1 to night 293. And I'm sure if you did a little research, you could find out like which are the most famous ones in that. And you could just read one or two of them if you would like to join in. But I'm going to try my best to get through this honker of a book.
Have you ever read it before?
I've read parts of it. I've never read it all the way through. I've read the condensed there. Oh, and by the way, thank you for reminding me. There are certainly condensed versions that have the most popular stories in it. Not condensed versions, what we'd call abridged versions with just the most popular stories. And it's, you know, much thinner. And that would be a good way to go because it would have Alibaba and the 40 Thieves and what's the one with the flying carpet?
Popeye the Sailor Man.
It's going to have all of those in there. So, but I'm going to try. We'll see. So this is a commitment for me because that means I'm going to have to read a couple each night because there's 293 nights. Some of them are a page though, but I'm going to try. So that is our book for March. The graphic novel is going to be Monsters by Barry Windsor Smith. This is something that I started, I loved, I never finished. You didn't like it?
I never finished it. It was so hard to read. For me, it was so hard to read.
Well, this is the one for next. You could say how much you disliked it or it was hard to get through. I'm really going to be focusing.
I guess it'll be good to be forced to finish it since I did buy it. It was not cheap.
Yeah, it is. It isn't. You can get this for about $40 on Amazon. You could probably get it cheaper in other places. I think you can find it used on eBay for about.
Maybe people can get it from the library.
Thank you for saying that. Absolutely. You can get this for free. You could probably stream it, but it is a hefty tome. And the backstory behind this is also kind of interesting. So we can go into that next month. So for music, remember it's Mammoth Month. So I picked a 3 CD set. It is an opera by Wynton Marsalis called Blood on the Tracks. It's an opera about slavery.
I thought it was the group Mammoth.
Nope. And this, I mean, it's like, yeah, this thing is, I don't know. I actually didn't look up if this was available or not. I'm sure it is. So like I said, this
who's it by?
Wynton Marsalis and the Lincoln Center Jazz Orchestra.
Wow. So it's like 3 or 4 hours long?
Yes. So, but for me, I put these things on when I read and I kind of slowly envelop them. I mean, you don't have to listen to the whole thing. You can listen to the beginning. I don't know if there's a bridge.
Arabian Nights.
Yeah, but like I said, I'm going with the theme of Mammoth for Mammoth March. And like I said, this came out when it came out. It got a lot of reviews and good reviews, and it might have won the Pulitzer Prize when it came out. I'm not sure about that. I have to do some research. So there was a reason I picked it up when it came out, and I never really listened to it. So this is the time. Here we go. 3 CD. I was almost going to pick Emerson, Lake and Palmer, their 3 to 4 album set where they each have an album, but I didn't want to put myself through that. I've done that before. And then finally, we're going to do Tarkovsky's Stalker. This I've actually watched it, but I watched it when I was drunk. I think that's the best time to watch this movie. But who watches?
Maybe on mushrooms.
Yeah, who watches a kind of movie like this when they're drunk? Okay, Garage Geek does. Like, who gets drunk and says, "Okay, let's watch Stalker"? But this
I watched
movie,
that movie in the theater when I was 20, and I nearly died of boredom.
it can be tedious. It is 3 hours, but there's so much interesting stuff related to this movie that's sci-fi related. I think it's going to have a great conversation, even if you haven't seen the movie. There'll still be stuff to talk about.
It's based on the book called Roadside Picnic.
Yeah, by the Strugazzis, which I've read.
I'd like to read that book.
And that and this is a huge inspiration for that Vandermeer book that I talked about, which is Annihilation. That whole series, it directly comes from this. Like, there would be no Annihilation without this, and I think Annihilation is one of the best sci-fi books. It's just amazing. Okay, back to the comments. I'll show all of those one more time before we go. So yeah, Monsters is for March, so the end of March.
So
Larry,
the last Saturday in March, is that what you're saying?
yes. And is that where the story of Scheherazade is? Yes. So that's the frame of the Arabian Nights. So she has to tell a story every night to stay alive. That's the frame of the entire.
In that, if that's the complete thing, I think every chapter ends with a cliffhanger, because she says, "I'll tell you the rest of the story tomorrow," and that's how she keeps from getting her head.
To stay alive. Yeah. So she's an interesting character. In fact, there's a musical, no, not an opera, like a symphonic thing called Scheherazade, and I actually really love it. Okay, that's an aside. It was one of my Grail albums that I finally got a copy of. I talked about that before. Yes, the library is great for graphic novels and other media. Yeah, that's true. I always forget, but I get all my audiobooks from the library. All of them that I'm always reviewing.
And something like Monsters would be the kind of thing libraries would get, I think.
And they'll have it digitally, so you could read it on an iPad or whatever. Like, you can download digital copies of a lot of these books for free. You don't even have to leave your chair. I was worried you were going to tackle Paul Simon's The Cape Man. That actually has a lot of good reviews. The musical, they said, was bad, but the actual music itself is good. Yes, now I remember my mom had this huge book series of those. Are you talking about the 1001 Arabian Nights? Okay, David, I'm going to trash my FIFO thing and pull Monsters out of its place in the TBR. What does FIFO stand for? First in, first on, something? Go ahead. Know. Yeah, go ahead, Sleepy.
Oh, I just wanted to point out Monsters is on Hoopla. As you were saying, you can get it digitally from your library.
Yeah.
And I find Hoopla easier to use than the other library apps.
Is that's free then, right? You could get it directly from
it's you sign up via your library card, and then you can get a certain amount free every month.
Oh yeah, first in, first out. Oh yeah, throw Monster in there, Larry, please. All right, so wow, we're at an hour and 23 minutes. So one more time, I'm going to show what we're doing next month, but don't worry, I will make a notification. So that is the Andrei Tarkovsky movie Stalker, 3 hours. We're going Mammoth next month for March. Monsters by Barry Windsor Smith. So this is the honker of a book. Look at that. A 3 CD, Blood on the Fields. This is probably going to be my least watched one yet. They were like, hell no. And finally, the Arabian Nights, Volume 1. And this is probably going to incentivize me to get the other volumes in this, although they might be out of print. I never got them, and I need to, because I always wanted to read the entire thing. But let's start with Volume 1. So there we go. I want to thank Larry and Damien for both jumping into my feed. Thank you so much. Sorry, I slighted you at the beginning. Not intentional. My dogs were going crazy, and I had my mind on a couple of things. But let's go ahead and finish off with the comments, and then we'll be done. You must rank David. Larry's breaking his FIFO. So Larry's video or live stream, I think, will be next Saturday, if I'm not correct. So we can definitely talk about that. And he is a teacher. Yeah, I am. I don't see the connection with breaking your ranking.
Obeyed, I think, is what he means.
All right.
Which all your students do, I'm sure.
So there's Larry. Yeah, next Saturday morning, bright and early, 6:30. I'll probably be still in my pajamas when we do it, like always. But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. If you want to stick around and chat for a little bit, Sleepy, I'd love it. But I want to thank everybody again for joining my feed. And I have a I have a special video coming up either today or tomorrow because I am celebrating my 666 subscribers. So I reached that demonic number. So again, thank you, everybody. I'm going to end it.